one, two. Hi, Dave. Welcome to the Can Player Show. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Good morning,
Right.
Max.
So, are you a lifelong Kaiser fan, or how did you become a Kaiser fan
I
growing up?
am.
Would be my
I
first
am.
question.
I grew up in Michigan, in Iron Mountain, Michigan, which is actually in the Upper Peninsula, 2 hours north of Green Bay. And I am a lifelong Detroit Tiger fan, Green Bay Packer fan, and Milwaukee Bucks fan.
Oh,
My dad was a huge Tiger fan. First time I went to Tiger Stadium was in 1987. And then in 2006, I took my dad to go see the Tigers at Comerica Park. And then he and I ended up going several different years. And yeah, I love the Tigers.
so you said you took your dad to Comerica Park. What was the old Kaiser Stadium like versus the new one?
So the original Tiger Stadium had the short right field porch. The upper deck overhung the playing field. So if you hit a fly ball, there were some balls that would have been caught at the wall if it wasn't for the overhang, and they ended up in the overhang. So, for instance, if you go back to the great Tiger teams of the 60s with Mickey Lolich and Denny McClain and Al Kaline, Kaline was the right fielder. Norm Cash was a left-handed hitter and one of their sluggers back in those days, and he was always known for hitting the right field porch. And then in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, when Lou Whitaker, Kirk Gibson, Darrell Evans were all big-time left-handed hitters who had a tendency to find that right field porch.
Wow, a lot of great players. Kiters have a rich history in baseball. You mentioned some of the players' names, and now that the Kiters are moving on to the next round in the playoff,
Yep.
you know, what had been your most fond memories of the Kiters throughout your lifetime?
I think, and I just mentioned this to my brother Peter, who's quite a bit younger than me, and then Tyler, our son. So Mark Fidrich in 1976, he was a rookie,
Hmm.
21 years old. Tigers were not any good. They'd won the division in 72, and then it was a complete rebuild. They got old. They won the World Series in 68. And then after that division winning team in 72, um, it was a complete rebuild. And in 76, they weren't any good. But they had this rookie pitcher, Mark Fidrich, who went 19-9. He had a 2.34 ERA, which Tariq Skubal this year, I think his ERA was 2.39 or 2.37. He was the first one to down be close to Fidrich. And then Fidrich hurt his knee the next year in spring training, which caused him to then hurt his shoulder, and he was never the same pitcher again. But that year, he used to talk to the baseball. He would get down on his hands and knees and get the mound all ready. If you haven't Googled Mark Fidrich, you need to. They would sell out every time he pitched, and they were a last place team that went 19-9. That's how good he was. I remember him pitching against the mighty Yankees on Monday Night Baseball. And again, the whole country was watching Mark the Bird Fidrich. That is a huge memory. And then the 1984 Tigers, who were in first place from day one, they started out 35-5. Jack Morris threw a no-hitter on national TV the first Saturday of the season. He beat the White Sox. They were a phenomenal team, and Guillermo Hernandez, Willie Hernandez, they had gotten in an offseason trade. Um, he he was the MVP, the Cy Young winner. He had a 1.92 ERA as their closer, but back in those days, he pitched 2-3 innings. And he only pitched a few more years. They just wore him out in '84. But Alan Trammell, Lance Parrish, Chet Lemon, Lou Whitaker, Kirk Gibson, Dan Petrie was another good pitcher. All of those guys had come up in the late 70s, and they were Jim Leland was their AAA manager, and then they went out and hired Sparky Anderson. I think it was in 78 or 79, and he turned them into a World Series winner. And then they won the pennant. Or I'm sorry, they won the division again in '87, but then got knocked out by the Twins. And then it was a lot of dark years until 2006 when Jim Leland resurrected the franchise behind Justin Verlander. And then they went out and traded for Cabrera a few more years, and then had a real powerhouse, but they couldn't win the World Series.
Before I go back to the dark days of the Tigers, I want to ask you, who was your favorite player growing up that you had to watch?
I think it was Alan Trammell, I would say. If it
What made
wasn't,
you like him versus all the other players?
yep, I think he was my favorite player, but I would say Whitaker. So they were the longest running second base shortstop combination in the history of Major League Baseball. They came up together on the same day. I think they were both 19 years old, and they came up in the fall in September. I think it was 77. It might have been 78. And Lou Whitaker couldn't pull the ball to save his life. Alan Trammell had all he could do to hit it out of the infield. And then by the 80s, I mean, they were both just fantastic players. And but I think Trammell was my favorite.
He's a good player. He's a
Hall of
Famer.
Famer. Yep, he's just
Yeah.
a great player and a class guy. Absolutely
So
class.
what would you, since the last time the Tigers won the World Series was '84, what
Yep.
would you say the team in '84 versus the one now, that the Tigers have?
The team in '84 dominated the whole year. They were in first place, and they never were not in first place. They won 104 games. They beat Kansas City in the playoffs and went to the World Series. They beat the Padres in 5 games. They were just dominant. And this team was 8 games under 500 on August 10th, and they've been dominant the last 6 weeks. They were 31-11, and right now nobody wants to play them, but they're a very different type of team. This team uses all 26 players. Hinch pitched 7 guys in game 2. And he used the bench as he does all the time. And I don't know if you know this, Max, fascinating statistic. So the Tigers team right now, when they beat
Hader.
Hader's salary is more than all 26 guys on the Tiger roster combined.
Yes, I do know that. And I thought it was really funny. I'm like, wow.
Wow, that's just a crazy statistic. So they're very different teams because the '84 team was loaded with future Hall of Famers. Jack Morris, Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker should be a Hall of Famer. Kirk Gibson, Lance Parrish, great player. Darrell Evans, great player. Chet Lemon wasn't bad. He was awfully good. And Hernandez was this absolute stud relief pitcher. This Tiger team, the only guy that anybody knows is Tariq Skubal. The rest of them are a bunch of no names, and it'll be fun to see how far they get.
I'm the player that a good player like Casey Mitt and Spencer coaching.
Yep.
Spencer was the #1 pick.
As was mine.
Years back.
Yep.
And when he got sent back down to the minor league earlier this season, I was really hoping that he would come back up before. So I was really happy to see that he made it back up before, the playoff came on.
Yep.
It would have been sad to see a #1 pick.
Yep.
Not, during the postseason. Going back to what you said about Josh Hader and the Tigers roster, I actually was really happy to see that because it kind of showed that you don't have to pay someone a big chunk of money, that you could still work with what you got
Right,
and play with a young team that's not all about the money. That, like,
right.
we can put a team together without, you know, losing money in the pocket. Yes, it's nice to have a big star player, a veteran. That's cool, but what are we doing? You know?
Well, and the Tigers have that star player, and it's Javi, and he's out. He's hurt. He had surgery in August, and
Yeah.
who would have ever dreamt, that they would be doing this without him? And he hasn't been any good now for 3 years. It's like wow. And they went out and got Trey Sweeney to play shortstop, and I'm convinced. I think Sweeney's actually going to be 20 home run a season guy for somebody. And it'll be interesting to see what Detroit does with Javi because he's got 3 years on his contract yet, and they're
You,
paying him an awful lot of money.
yeah, a lot of money, and he is getting up there in age.
Right,
So,
right.
uh, do you think the Kaiser will go all the way, or you know?
I don't, but I hope they do. Um, I do think that they can beat Cleveland. I think it's going to be a very, very good series. I'd be surprised if it's not. Cleveland's got a great bullpen, and Detroit's got a very, very good bullpen. Detroit has Skubal, and if
Yeah, he's a
Skubal
good.
can, if he can win Game 2 and somehow they get it to Game 5 and he can pitch again, Skubal in a Game 5, I don't think most people would say Detroit. I'd say in that scenario, most people would say Detroit's going to win.
I mean, I was very fascinated that most of the American League teams look like American League Central. Like, wow, this might be a American League Central battle out
Right.
going on here. The Royals beat the Yankees, and you know. But have you watched any of the other postseason games besides the Kaiser? I know it's going off a little bit of a trail, but since the Kaiser's in the postseason, have you been keeping an eye on who's possibility in the World Series?
I have, and I was disappointed to see the Brewers get beat last night.
Yeah,
Um, the Mets are hot, the Tigers are hot. I don't think either one is going to make it to the World Series, but I don't think they're going to be easy to knock out. Um, I think I don't want it to be this, but I think it could very well be a Yankees Dodgers World Series. I think they're the two best teams, but that doesn't mean they're going to get there.
yeah, I was really bummed out with the Brewers, and I'm still kind of bummed out about them, but that's the beauty of baseball, and
It is.
you just never know what's going to happen. Um, you just don't know what's going to happen in the postseason. I tell people anything can happen.
I
And
think who I hope is in it, I hope it's the Tigers and Padres again. That's what I hope. Who do I think will be in it? I think the Yankees and Dodgers, but I would also say I would not be surprised at all if it's the Padres and the Indians.
Guardians, I mean, I still think of them as the Cleveland Indians, but
The
um,
Guardians, yeah, sorry, there'll always be the Indians for me. I'm telling you now how old I am. So who do you think is going to the World Series, Max?
so my pick got knocked out. So me and my friend did a postseason video where we
Yep.
picked the postseason, and I picked Baltimore versus Dodgers, and sadly, Baltimore couldn't even swing the bat to save them life. It did
Right.
like. So I was picking Baltimore versus Dodgers and Baltimore to win it all, but it didn't happen that way. So, and I love an underdog story, and I know the Brewers haven't won the World Series yet, so I'm cheering for them. I also know the San Diego Padres haven't won the World Series yet, so now I'm coming down the wire to the Kaisers and the Padres.
I
Can't
like
wait.
it.
You know, like, well, my picked out. I mean, if the Dodgers make it, we'll see. At least I got something right, but otherwise, Yeah, it's fun. Going back to the Brewers, I had a buddy of mine text me, they're gonna win it. And I'm like, don't say it yet, man. Hold your breath. We're not there yet. And next thing you know, Pete Alonso hit a home run, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, it's so. How many outs when he hit that?
He had Devin Williams had 3 outs left.
So there are no outs.
Nope, he was 3 outs to win, 3 outs away from
Wow.
getting into the next round. I don't know if you follow John Boy Media.
No,
Um,
I don't.
John Boy Media posted a video that saying Devin Williams was tipping pitchers to the Mets when it's very interesting to see, but at the same time, seeing Devin Williams in the media and being really bummed out about it. I just got done reading a little bit of an article about Bob Newker going to the locker room and trying to cheer up the players. And
Was that his last game?
um,
Euchre, is he retiring now?
I don't know. I
Oh,
I
okay.
heard rumors of him retiring, but I haven't.
Okay.
I know he. I read that he get to make his own schedule, so
Yep.
pretty much he can go when he wants to go. And
It's amazing.
I
It's
know he's not going on the road. I know he announced that last year that no more road trips, because it's like it's becoming too much on him, you know. But other than that, yeah, it's sad to see, but at the same time, I tell people this is what happened. I still think the Brewers got a good team.
I do too.
Uh, they'll be back in there, I'm sure, at some point. I don't know when.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now that the St. Louis Cardinals are out, I can actually feel good about picking the Brewers for a change at my
Yep.
predictions.
Yep.
I did a regular season prediction in the beginning of the year, and I did pretty good. I only had 2 teams that didn't make it,
I'm impressed.
so I
That's
did
that's
did a
great.
little bit better on it.
It's awesome.
They're,
It
they're not all in the right place, but at the same time, hey, 2 out of the whole season, I'm doing all right.
so here's to a Tigers Padres World Series. How's that? And then we can look ahead to next year.
That'll be neat. Um, my other question, even though now the Brewers are knocked out, what if the Brewers were facing the Tigers? Who would you have to go for?
Oh, that's easy. The Tigers.
You know, even though it'll be like a little bit of a battle out.
No, no, that's easy for me.
Yeah.
No question about it. I wouldn't even. Matter of fact, I would have been getting tickets to go down to see him play in Milwaukee, and I would have been absolutely decked out in Tigers gear and go Tigers. So
I
no
mean,
question.
I know the Tigers are still in the playoff, and free agency will be coming up. Is there anyone that you would like the Tigers to re-sign or sign on?
Yeah, I hope they sign Scoobel to an extension. You know, he's eligible for free agency in boy, I want to say it's 2027, and I hope they get him locked up here this off season and extend him out a ways. Um, and beyond that, I don't. I hope they keep developing with these young guys. I don't
Have
want.
you have you seen the new pitcher Joe pitch? I
I
watched.
have. I have. Expect to see him again on Saturday.
He did a really good job for his first game at the
Absolutely.
postseason game.
He only had 4 innings in Major League Baseball before that game, and the reality is he gave up. He hit a guy, and he hit his jersey jumping out of the way. He gave up a bloop single and then a bunt single, and a sac fly. He'll be back. He'll be pitching. I think he'll pitch tomorrow at some point.
I mean, the Tigers got a young team that
Look
looks like
out
a
for
lot of
Detroit.
star players that
Absolutely, top
I'm
player in
excited. see.
The number one
And
prospect in baseball is Max Clark. He's a Detroit outfielder.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing him play. I was hoping he'll get called up a little bit sooner, but I don't think he's gonna be quite ready. So
I
hopefully
think he'll be up. He'll be up at some point next year.
you know.
Yep.
And so we going back to the '84. Did you watch them all, or
Oh yeah.
did you have a favorite moment where Dip
Yep.
in?
Gibson's home run in Game 5. I think it was 8th inning, and that sewed it up. That place went absolutely wild, and yeah, that was the best.
One of the things I think about the Kaiser team that helped them beat Houston Astros, having Houston Astros former manager.
Yep.
Kaiser also have a legendary manager, Jim Leland, I think.
Yep. Jim Leland. Yep.
What do you think back then when the Kaisers were going through the postseason 4 years in a row? Why do you think you couldn't get the Kaisers to the next hump?
Their bullpen.
Over the hump, I should say.
Their bullpen.
They
had the best starting rotation, arguably, of all time. At one point, they had Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, David Price, Rick Porcello, and Anibal Sanchez, and four Cy Young winners. Anibal Sanchez led the American League in ERA the year Detroit lost to the Giants in the World Series. And I would just say what I learned from watching a team with great starting pitching, you got to have a bullpen. And that's why this Tiger team right now, look out. Their bullpen is loaded. And my prediction on Saturday is that he will do another bullpen game. And I don't know if you know this, but in Game 2, Houston's batters never saw the same pitcher twice. And I think that's what he's going to do on Saturday. Then Scuba will pitch Monday, and then on Wednesday it'll be another bullpen game. And it's one guy after another just throwing gas. Look out for Detroit.
I mean, yeah, I was doing a little bit of research and seeing that the Kaisers had that former great manager, and then they got Brad. Don't remember his last name, but he's now with the Yankees, being an assistant coach there.
Yeah, Osmus. Yep.
Yeah, Brad Austin. But it just seemed like the Kaisers couldn't get over that hump. But hopefully this year they can make it over the hump, even though they got quite a bit of battle with Cleveland, and Cleveland got a good first year manager that I'm really impressed with too.
Yep. Just like Houston did. And what did we do to Houston's first year manager? Go Tigers.
Yep.
Go Tigers.
It's just like, so I'm excited to see them, see a battle out, even though my prediction's not, right, but I'm okay with that, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
So, thank you, Dave, for coming on.
Great to be on, Max. How about if we talk after the World Series and the Tigers have won it in 7 games?
Sound good.
Perfect.
I'll see you
November 1st. Thanks, buddy.
Sound good. Bye.
Bye-bye.